What is up, beauties? Thanks so much for tuning back into this week's video, but if this is the first time that we are meeting, my name is Ashley Nicole Arias, and I thank you for stopping on by. So as stated in last week's video, if you have not checked it out, by the way, please click the hyperlink in the corner. I would really very much appreciate it. Today, I'm going to be making my own homemade stockings, and this video I'm very, very excited about because I love Christmas and I love crafts, so it's combining two of my favorite things. And without further ado, let's jump right in.
So you're going to need a strip of red fabric, some glittery white fabric, big and small scissors, fabric glue, a pen, needles and thread, and my favorite part, sequins. I already had a template for the stocking shape, so I'm just going to find an optimal spot on this strip of fabric that makes the most of the surface area. Then I'll quickly trace it and snip it out. Be sure to save the scraps for later use of the stocking handle. Finally, I'll snap myself another piece, so now I have the front and back of my stocking. Next, I'm going to create the letters for my name with the white fabric. I'm just doing this freehand, but if you wanted more precise lettering, some stencils from the store should help. The tiny scissors come in handy here to help get the harder to reach spots like in the A. Then I'm going to use the A as a template for the size of the other letters so they're proportional. Then I'll just quickly make the remaining letters, and we're ready to glue them onto the stocking. Now it's time to sketch out an outline for the design. I've decided to do a gingerbread man with a Santa hat. This is just a rough outline to follow so you know where to place your sequins and beads. The first thing you're going to do is set up your needle and thread. Grab your thread and unravel a decently long portion of no specific length. Then you're going to cut that piece and double it up so you should have one end with a loop and the other with the two ends of the thread. Then you're going to oh so carefully thread the thread through the needle head, and you should have your needle on one end and the loose ends on the other. Then you're going to lick the loose ends and attempt as many times as needed to create knots, preferably at the same spot. 2 to 3 times should suffice. I do this by twirling the thread around my finger and then twirl the thread together so that it forms a knot. If this is too tricky for you, which is totally understandable, then you can also just try to tie it like you would a shoelace. But this is also tricky. Now that we have our thread and needle prepped, it's on to sewing. A lot of this is going to be trial and error in order to find the spot where you want your sequin to be. Once you've found that, you're going to pull the needle through the stocking, and thanks to our handy knots, the thread is safely secured and shan't be pulled through. With our thread in place of the desired spot, we're ready to add our sequins. One thing to note about them is that they are domed like contact lenses. So when sewing the sequin, make sure that you're placing it dome side down. This note will be especially important when sewing two sequins at once. Once you have your sequin on the thread, you're going to thread the needle back into the fabric, so now the needle is on the back side of the stocking. Then you're going to thread it back to the front, and this is where the dome side matters. The first sequin should be dome side down, and the second should be dome side up, so that when you thread the sequins through, they should both end up being dome side down. Now simply rinse and repeat until you've completed your entire design. Once you've reached the end of your thread, thread the needle back and forth in the stocking a few times, and then flip the stocking over to the back and run the needle through the fabric. This is a preventative measure of any potential unraveling. And voila! We have successfully created our own DIY Christmas stocking.
Alright beauties, so that is all that I have for you. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I don't currently have a sewing machine, so the next step that I'm not going to show would be to use a sewing machine to thread these two together, and make sure to do it kind of close to the end. I tried to keep the letters and the sequins away from the end so that you would have a little bit of room to stitch them together, and that's why it doesn't matter if they're exactly perfect, because you're going to sew them together anyways. And then you're going to need a little strip from the scraps that you cut out earlier, and when you sew it together, you're just going to fold it in half and then just sew it on right here so that it hangs like that. So this is what it will look like once it's actually sewn together, but because I don't have a sewing machine, it is not completely finished. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this week's video, making your own DIY Christmas stockings at home. Before you go, please make sure to hit the like and subscribe button down below, as well as the bell, so that you get notified every time I post a new video. I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. I hope to see you next week, but until then, have a beautiful weekend, my loves. And stay sunny.